Who recognises this? Well then, over the summer we went on holiday to the Azores. It wasn't a fishing holiday, but obviously it's a holiday. There's some water there, so you're going to go fishing. So we got in touch with Alan and Dan, Alan Blair, Dan Yeomans, to get some advice. So thanks for your help there. And I'm going to show you what happened. There's a bit of fishing there. I won't put any like holiday content on. We might put them on our YouTube channel. But yeah, there's a lesson to be learned. So please, 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 especially if you use a boat for fishing, watch the stories. I'll try and explain more as we get through it, because I did video myself explaining it at the time, but it was pretty raw, so I'm going to refilm it now. There's loads of clear spots down here, but that might be from the weed machine. So we come to the scene of Dan and Alan's adventure. There's a weed clearing machine, so we can't find any. We're going to have to keep walking, I think. Painful. Let's just keep going along here and walk back. What? Oh, roach. All this thing's roach, brilliant. Why do we have to come the one day they're doing weed clearing? Milo, you got your first fish from the Azores?
Yeah.
What is it?
A roach. A decent sized roach as well.
Quality. Diddly, diddly, diddly. Haven't you caught anything yet, Cosmo?
So, just get a photo and get him back.
Yeah. First perch and fish of the trip for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hang on, I want to get a photo. So, what you got?
Nice little
Another
roach.
Azores roach. Another perch for me, this time on a bit of sweet corn. Getting back. First little roach from the Azores. So I'm 2 species in, same as Cosmo now. This one's going to be tricky to break down, but essentially the fishing wasn't great. What you got?
Mega perch.
Cool one.
With a mega background.
Yeah, looking at the clouds are coming in, we might have to do one to get over the mountain.
That's fine, I just felt little bites on it, just went, got one.
We were really struggling at Sete Cidades. The carp would disappear the minute anyone went on the bridge. They'd literally avoid bread. In fact, one would come and headbutt the bread away from the shoal of carp. There weren't that many of them. The weed cutter was going backwards and forwards. As soon as that got going, they all disappeared. I put bait on a spot where I'd seen carp feeding, and literally I was watching them, and as soon as there was bait on it, they'd swim round it. It blew my brain. Anyway, the kids wanted to go to the water sports centre because they were bored, which is fair enough. So we went down there because it's not a fishing holiday, it's just a holiday with a bit of fishing. And we went down to get pedalos and sups and see what we could find on the water. Sup? Milo? Sup? Milo,
You need to go forward slightly.
is this the first time you've paddleboarded in a volcano? What happened next was a bit of an interesting, well, it was a horrific experience. There's no other way of describing it. It messed with my head a lot and still does. So we went out on the pedalos and sups, all hunky-dory. They just said to us, you're not allowed to swim in the lake, wear your life jacket. Sensible stuff, right? So we went out, went all around the lake. It's a massive lake, like absolutely massive. Had our hour, and we were heading back, And you know when you see something and it just doesn't feel right? There was a pedalo on the far side of the lake, like it's a long way. And I could tell something was something just didn't feel right. So we headed over. As we got closer to the pedalo, there was a lot of shouting. It sounded like they're shouting fish in Portuguese, which like instantly got my attention because I'm like, have we finally found some feeder fish? But no. As we got closer to the pedalo, there were 4 people on it, 3 adults, one young, sort of, I'd guess about 2-year-old, and the 2-year-old and the mum were just screaming, like literally screaming. I looked and there were 4 people on the pedalo and 5 life jackets, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out what's going on there. It turns out what had happened is one of them had taken their life jacket off and dived off the pedalo just before we'd sort of turned around and headed over to them. So it'd probably been a couple of minutes. They hadn't come back up. Cosmo and Milo were there, and they just shot off back to the shore, to the water sports centre to get help because, you know, it was a long way and we needed to get a boat out quick. We were pedalling around where they were, just trying to see if I could see anything under the water. It wasn't good. The woman and the child, they said to us, can they come on our pedalo and could we take them back to shore, because they were really, really, really upset. Understandably, the other couple who were on the pedalo decided to stay out there and keep looking round, and it was one of the worst experiences of my life, genuinely, because every inch of me wanted to dive in and look, but I didn't want to dive into something that someone had already dived into and hadn't come back up from. If I could have seen something, I think I'd have gone, but still to this day I suffer massive guilt that should I have gone in, but the reality is in that instance I did the right thing. We took the woman and the child back to shore. We couldn't quite understand because of the language barrier, but it was either his daughter and his granddaughter or his wife and his daughter. They were obviously really distressed. It was a pretty stressful situation to be in. We took them back. Cosmo by that point had, God knows how he paddled his SUP so fast, but he'd already got back. They'd got the rescue boat out, but couldn't get the engine started. Yeah, and then it just seemed like nothing happened. It was just, this guy had dived off the pedalo into the lake and vanished. And I don't think there's that many people who can survive over 2 minutes underwater. Yeah, that was a real... Obviously, the water sports centre shut down, and one of the guys turned around to me and went, well, if you take your life jacket off, these things happen. He told me, and I didn't realise this, the lake was 26 metres deep in places, so it's deep. But he said 2 metres below the surface at the minute is just weed everywhere, which is what this weed cutting boat had been doing that we'd seen that was spooking all the fish. It was cutting the top 2 metres off the weed. But everything below that stayed intact. Eventually rescue people came, like divers and fire brigade and police, and they started properly searching for this guy. We couldn't really do a lot more at that point, but obviously it was hard. I mean, I'd say I was so stressed I could hardly drive. I couldn't concentrate. I just wanted to know that they'd at least found the guy's body, because by that point I'd assumed the worst, and at least his family could get his body back. We hung around. We went back to where the fishing was, but our hearts weren't in it. It really messed with my head in particular, but I think some of the kids as well, and Meg, just having witnessed this situation. Yeah, it was pretty bad. The rest of the time on San Miguel, actually, it messed with us a bit because we did go to some of the other lakes like Furnace and Bass, I think it is. It's where, anyway, there's black bass in there. We did go there. When we went to Sao Bass, we got there, the weather came in. I couldn't even see the kids next to me. It was that bad, and we had to come down before we could catch anything there. We got to Furnace and our hearts just weren't in it. We were more interested in other stuff. We were fine when we went sea fishing, but there was just something about, you get to the lakes and it just made me think about, all you could think about was the guy that had gone missing really on our first day of fishing the lake. So we caught loads of sea fish, which you'll see over the course of these shorts, but we never managed a carp, because after that experience, lakes were just messing with our heads. It wasn't actually until we left San Miguel and went to Terceira, where we also did a bit of sea fishing. It was only at that point that we found out via Facebook. There's a Facebook group. The guy's body had been found. It took a team of 10 divers over 2 days to find him. And what had happened is when he dived off, he'd got weeded up. He'd literally dived and gone into an underwater weed bed and weeded himself up. When you're fishing for carp or any species, we all know about what happens when the fish weeds you up. I suppose what I'd never consciously thought about, but makes perfect sense, is if you fell into a weed bed, you could get weeded up. That's just reality. That's essentially what happened to this guy. Would a buoyancy aid have helped? Probably, because he wouldn't have gone so deep and he wouldn't have gone into the weed bed. But the reality is, if you're doing boat fishing on a weedy venue, in particular, wear a life jacket. Genuinely, it could save your life. The chances of you getting weeded up might be minuscule. But that family went on a camping trip and one of them never came back. I wore my life jacket, and what I would say is, if you are out fishing in a boat, please, please, please wear a life jacket. You don't want to be that 1 in a million chance that you're the one that gets weeded up, because it only takes, to be honest, I don't think it'd take very long. You'd get weeded up, you'd panic, you'd inhale water, you'd be dead. There's no easier way of explaining it. So wear a life jacket. We know there are circumstances where you might not feel it's necessary to wear a life jacket, and looking back, all the times we've been boat fishing in the sea, which is infinitely more dangerous, we've never worn life jackets. However, it's made us think twice, just to show that we're not completely risk averse. We did this little video. By the end of the day, Milo was jumping off 7 metres, and yes, that was him going from the highest jump.